Satnam, everyone. Hello and welcome to the channel. And today I have the pleasure to say also Satnam Seva. Hello, sister. So I've been wanting to do kind of a series of conversations with yogis and yoginis and to talk about life and yoga in general. And of course, you were the first one. and so I'm happy that you're here with us. And anybody who is watching, you can feel free to drop your comments or questions to us and to her particularly, and we will interact with you. So welcome.
Wonderful, very happy to be here. And honor, a pleasure. I'm looking forward to this meeting.
So Seva and I, we were born into a family of yogis, so we were quite blessed. And I think many people already know this because I've been mentioning in the channel. But we were surrounded by yoga books, and our parents are doing their own practices. And I prepared a few questions for you. I want to know, but we can go with the conversation in any direction. But I have a few things that I would like to know about you that I don't know yet. So that's curious. So the first thing, Seva, because I went through a journey of being with mom and dad very close to the teachings and seeing daddy doing yoga, mommy doing her meditations and so on. And then through my adolescence, I went away from anything remotely spiritual, and then I had to come back when I was in university. But my feeling was that you were never going away from that. You were always having some sort of spiritual call that was very strong in you. And I remember even when we were very little that it was maybe a little bit more into the spiritism than the spiritual, like the spirits, the Ouija board and the tarot cards and things like that. And slowly you've transitioned towards the yoga. But I was wondering if it's like that. Do you feel it like you always stayed there, or did you have some period of your life when you tried to go away?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. Even the introduction you did to our own family, being born in a yogi family, is not very common since we can, in these times, it's like, yeah, yogi. But at that time, more than 40 years ago, it was very unusual. And it was in a very little island in Mallorca, yeah, in the Mediterranean. And it was, the culture people didn't know what a yogi was. And in the whole island, there was just one center, yoga center.
Yeah.
Actually, there were two, but very little ones and different traditions. And it was not very uncommon.
Yeah, but Daddy would say yoga, and sometimes we say yogurt. What yogurt? What do you mean? Like, yeah.
We were very, very blessed to have been born in this family where we were surrounded about books that our father was waiting months to arrive home, and they were coming from, I don't know if it was directly from India or from UK, but it was such a very happy moment when the book was arriving, and we were just having them around ourselves, so that was very good. But as you said, in my case, I was really amazed by magic. I just wanted to know to be able to access to magic and the mysterious world beyond, much more interested in the world beyond than in this world, definitely.
But real magic, not cards and rabbits out of the hat. You were never watching that or attracted to that. It was real magic, yeah?
I still remember in Menorca when we were watching a TV show, and it was a magic TV show, and such a disappointment when someone told me, that's a trick, that's not real. And it was like, no, I don't want that. I really want to do this magical phenomenon that it arrived to us. Like some people being able to know the future, some people being able to see beyond what we are used to see, the image that we see, they could go through and see the invisible. Or some people could just go to the past and record some life past experiences or whatever. So reading the tarot cards, I was very close to the tarot cards. And also at the early age of, I don't know, 6 years old, I was having my first deck. And yeah, definitely I was amazed about that. And answering your question, if there was some time I was not there, in my university period of time, I had to put that aside so that I could accomplish my studies and go around like the standard way of dealing with life, just get a good career, university career, so that you are someone in the world. So that was the period that I still was reading the tarot cards and for myself. And then that is when we found our spiritual teacher, and then I found the sense of all of it through the yoga practices, and all it had been a training to arrive to this yogic science, and knowing so much about numbers was like, that's what I could find also in the tarot cards, for instance, numbers, like the ultimate language of the universe. And that's when we met also together in the path.
So you would say that the transition from the tarot and the magic into the numbers that would come with shift, that's when you did the transition fully?
Yes, always interested in that, in the magic. And then when I could find it in London, it was like, I can't believe, is he talking about, because he's a very respectable man and teacher.
So just in case somebody doesn't know, Shiv Charan Singh is our teacher, our spiritual teacher. So Seva arrived to his yoga center. Maybe you can tell us how did you come up with, how did you arrive there?
Yeah, so again through our parents, we had this autobiography of a yogi from Paramahansa Yogananda, a very recommendable book to read to everyone. Very nice, very good book, inspiring. And I started to I applied for receiving the lessons from the organization because Paramahansa Yogananda is not alive. So there was a series every 2 weeks. They were sending me the teachings, and for 2 years I did it. And at a certain moment I just asked Paramahansa Yogananda, I would really like to have, it's lovely to have you as a teacher, but I would really like to have an alive teacher, a teacher who is alive. And in less than 2 weeks, now I see the parallelism with the lessons. In less than 2 weeks, I found the yoga center where Shiv was the founder and the director of the center. And I started there, and it was just starting and not stopping all the courses, classes and workshops and everything he was doing, because it was just a huge deep thirst that I could finally find in him and his teachings and the numbers.
Did you recognize him immediately? That he's my spiritual teacher. Do you know immediately, or did it take you a while to recognize that?
No, it was very nice, because in the first meeting, someone, a very nice student that I keep her in my heart as well, and she's not in the Sangha yet, but already. But she opened the door to me, and because the class was so fully booked, there was hardly space to me, and I was on time or a few minutes later. So she bothered herself to take the mat and put me just besides him. And I just watching everything from the front, besides him, the whole class around, and himself just doing these funny movements very quickly, when I thought yoga was really slow and smooth and relaxed and relaxing. And all the class was like, what, what's up now? Left and right, in the other cell. And I was like, where am I? No, what am I doing here? But really, when I went out from the class, I was different. I felt completely different. And I didn't see it like, oh, he's my spiritual teacher, not really like that. But I knew I was going to come back. And when I was going back 3 or 4 classes later, then I realized he's speaking actually about numbers. He's actually saying things about meaning of the numbers. Amazing. And that's when I met the Karankriya. And definitely from there on, I knew he was my spiritual teacher.
I think the Karankriya is more clearly the magic. No, in yoga there is some magic behind, but you cannot see it so clearly, especially at first when you don't have the subtlety to perceive the effect of this mudra and difference with this mudra, no? But in Karankriya it's so immediate, right?
Yeah, immediate, incredible, and extraordinary.
Mm.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ultimate language, isn't it, between God
Yeah.
and the unmanifested, yeah, invisible, and this world that we live.
That's very interesting because I have people sometimes they ask me, how do you know when you find your spiritual teacher? No? And it's interesting that you had already a relationship to a spiritual teacher, or we could even say a guru, maybe Yogananda, no? And you asked directly to Yogananda. You asked, "Give me, I need a physical, embodied teacher in this world, so I can talk to him," and that manifested very quickly. So if you ask for it, no, things may come.
Yeah, and it's guaranteed. And who would have said also, from my perspective as a sister, who would have said in our university years also that you would become also, you would be on the same path. And it's
Yeah.
amazing and so great coming from your scientific and technological side and bringing it into the teachings as well, or your capacity for exploring, inquiring, bringing into the teachings is also always our abilities that we developed previously, even if it didn't have anything to do with the spiritual. It's enriching in your case so much in your approach as well to how you share it, bringing that capacity. It's amazing how it's serving also.
Yeah, I can totally see that there is like different pieces of a puzzle, and they have become slowly putting each other next to each other, and everything I studied from engineering and computers, and basically I was reflecting upon this a few days ago. I was walking by the river, and I was going over what did I want as a young man, no? And I was thinking, well, I wanted to know how the brain works. And there is two ways to do that. Basically, that's what I understood when I was at that age. No, there's the what we call the white box and the black box approach, meaning the black box is like the brain is something that is closed and you cannot see inside. So the psychologists from the outside ask questions and then you reply, no, and then they try to understand how the machine works from the inside based on the questions that you receive. And the white box is trying to go inside and change it. And the only way to do that is try to create a machine that thinks. So my path through computers was to try to create something that thinks. But I was always interested in how the mind and us, consciousness, but at that time I didn't have the language. And yeah, so it made sense that I would go into those fields and then I would arrive to where I am right now, and I can apply what I understood from engineering to, like right now, giving you an example of something very engineering, black box and white box, to try to understand something that is more subtle. So I think all of us, in a way, there is a certain wisdom in us that guides us and takes us through different paths. So maybe I can ask you, you studied publicity and you studied graphology. I believe you studied like 4 or 5 years, right, in the university years. How did that inform you to where you are now?
Yeah, there are two things. One thing is advertisement and advertising that I was learning, and I always said I really mistaken my career because when I had to choose, it was communication sciences, and I knew it had to do with it. But well, there was three options: journalism, publicity, advertising, and sound and image, which is how you work behind the camera and media, TV, radio, and everything. And I should have chosen the last one, but I did advertising. I don't know why, but for sure the destiny was taking me there because that, with my graphic design, which is a little part of the advertising studies, but that allowed me to move to London and have a good job and stay there and survive very well while I was getting my studies, no, my spiritual yogic studies. So that was good. That served me for myself in that period of time when I met the teachings and my spiritual teacher.
I think that's a good point. I would like to emphasize as well, because some people try to find meaning to things that they find that they are meaningless. Like I had to study this, and I have this menial job, and it's useless, and I'm wasting my time. But look, that job gives you the financial security to actually have your other studies on the side. there is a question coming up, and they said that it's very hard to hear you. Um, so I don't know if you can. I hear you pretty well, but there might be something in the system that is not. Oh, it might be because your audio is coming through my. Okay, thank you very much, Anish, for letting me know, because this is the first time we do this. So hold on a second. I need to. Yeah, I would have to do some research on how to do that. So Anish, let us know if it helps at all. But we will try like this,
Yeah.
and hopefully next time it will be better.
Otherwise, I guess when it goes to the recordings, you can maybe edit it.
It's not gonna be easy because we are changing all the time. So,
That's right.
but okay. Anyway, so that and the graphology. What did you learn from the psychographology that you can that you ended up applying now? Did you learn something valuable?
Yeah, that was good as well because it was certainly, I think it was between 3 and 4 years of studies with a psychologist, very good one. And I went through all the branches, which was working with children and going into cases, verification of signatures and anonymous writings, and the therapy through the writing. And it was all of them were quite a long studies, and psychotherapy and with the graphology. And actually, what I could feel is like something that could be mysterious to me, kind of reading about the person, the personality. As yeah, the other branch was selection, personal selection for companies through the writings. So I could really see how direct the symbology of the writing had to do with the characteristics, how everything we do and we say and how we express ourselves is expressing something of ourselves, and this on the same way in the writings, the same way when you do the shapes and the speed and the threads and the pressure and many things that you can notice on the writings, apart from the signature, and that gave it a more rational way also, not that mysterious whatever, but actually was delivered by a very well organized, very clear teacher, psychologist, and had so much sense. All the traits that she was putting all together, all of this is talking about patience, all of this is talking about impatience. So all of this is talking about creativity, all of this about order and capacity for administration, abilities, whatever. So all of that were a huge amount, a list of psychologists' characteristics related to the writings. So it was amazing. I really loved those classes so much, and it gave me the sense of it is as it is. It's a mirror of ourselves in the writing. And then later we can understand, yeah, the way we dress, the way we move, the tone of our voice, and many things that we choose is because it's expressing something of ourselves. So the writing is very clear also and very interesting, and it's a part of my life. I don't use it much now, but still it's with me. When I see it, it's impossible to avoid it. Yeah? When you see someone writing or signing, or even my own daughter when she is doing some things in the page, and just little touch. Be careful with this. Don't do it like that. Knowing beyond what could mean if that trait stays with her. So this would be the writing therapy.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I remember that when we were traveling, we would always look in bookshops for books on handwriting, no, handwriting analysis and things like that. But it's interesting, no. I'm having a feeling now that through those studies, you were perceiving that there is like another world behind what we see. We just see letters and we associate, okay, there's a meaning between the letters, and we just try to understand what it says. But then you could read so much more than what the letters are saying, like the message, but there's so much more behind. And I can imagine that capacity to look beyond the message, but more in what is behind, that's serving you in Karankriya as well, because it's when somebody's saying something kind of clear, we don't just go with the words of what they are saying, but we hear so many other things, and the numbers are hidden as well. So maybe that capacity, you were already building it up in that time.
For sure, it brought for sure its part. Although also in the tarot cards as well, there was a lot of symbolism and a lot of reading beyond the. There was a lot of little things that were bringing also meaning to beyond the image, and that's it. For instance, so I also could say that it's more about, yeah, you can do a graphology course in 2 weekends, but this was for nearly 4 years. So I think I related more with this discipline of having chosen the tough one, you know. The more commercial one is like, great, and now you are a graphologist. Actually, you need to go deeper and deeper and work, and maybe that's connecting with what you are saying. Yeah, you go and you realize there's a whole world that you didn't realize before. And truly, we went to Australia with the family, and even there looking for books that have not been, because now you can receive it from Amazon, from everywhere. But at that time, the place where we were going, just looking for it into the bookshelves and everything, the libraries, and bringing some more, like, more knowledge that complements that. So that's a message that for the ones who are listening us, also I think it's valuable, that it's not the culture that we live is something quick, easy, and you have it done. And actually, the spiritual path is as you walk step by step, and you realize that when you thought you knew everything, it was just a tiny part, and you had to go even beyond and realize different dimensions, and even this structure, whatever you thought it was actually, and just start over from the humble beginning of, as a beginner. And it takes time, but it's the most worthy thing to apply. This commitment and this discipline towards one path that you walk once and again, and it's your personal process, your personal path that you go. It's going to flourish sooner or later. Yeah, not to good, not to look for illusory shortcuts. We could say it. So that's also that with graphology brought me. I was so happy to have enrolled with this course for about 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. If you find something that you feel passionate about, then pursue it deeply with a big commitment. No, yes. So now, Isabel, you are. Satnam, she says, Satnam, Seva and Ardaas, a short connection for me during my job. I will watch later with great interest. Thank you so much for offering us this meeting. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for connecting. It's good to see you here. Satnam.
Thank you, Mahiguru.
She's one of the regulars in the channel. So.
Mahiguru.
Yeah, I find this. I mean, of course, when you find something passionate, then you can pursue it with a lot of energy and commitment. And but the way society is structured right now, you make young children, because really at 17 we are still young children. We are not really very mature beings. It makes us choose what we are going to be doing with our careers and stay with that. You know, most people who choose, they stay there. So like you studied publicity and I studied computers, and how many people have studied a degree that they don't like, or they, you know, by the first or second or maybe the third year they realize they don't want to spend their whole lives doing that, and that's a problem. But that's also like, what is the alternative to that? I don't think it's for us to fix society, no, but what do we do with our children? How can we advise our children as they get closer to that age where they have to make big decisions? I think you kind of know what you want. Like, for example, you knew it was about communication. You just didn't know it was about. You would have preferred the graphic area, no, the image and sound and all that, rather than the publicity. And I like science. Fortunately for me, I liked computers quite a lot, so that it was relatively easy for me to do that. And always, when you're doing a degree, you can choose extracurricular subjects. Like you can. I chose from psychology, so I was doing computer science and some psychology extra credits. Uh, But what do we do? You know, when Leila, your daughter, will be older, and when Noah and Holly, mine, will be older, have you given a thought about this? How do you advise her in her decision whether she wants to study or not, and which direction and decisions that she has to make?
Yeah.
Have you gone into that?
Yeah, it's a great question because in a way we don't want them to do a mistake. In another way, we know that a certain part of our life, everything goes upside down, and it's very common that one could have chosen one study that is not exactly what they wanted to do, but it would be better if we could be more aligned or more not receiving, for instance, the influence of our previous generation of 8 different, the father, the grandfather, the grand-grandfather being a doctor. Okay, I'm supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Yeah, not to look at it with those eyes. And in our case, I guess, I'm not sure if it's your case as well, maybe you could also share it, Ardaas. In our case, knowing about numbers, it's like we have an extra feeling, yeah, and also being parents, the mother there. But even in some families, that the parents could project a little bit too much what they think is the best, yeah, with the best intention. Also, as I said, knowing about her numbers, I could have a very good idea of what is more suitable for her and just letting her explore it, not rushing out for choosing anything and giving her very many options to try, yeah, to try out and to explore. For instance, I believe she's a 5 in the total, could be something very 4, 5, 6 is very emphasized in her nature, and she's very active. So this thing of creativity, and that could be communication and artistic side. But what kind of side? Could be a dancer, could be a painter, could be a poetry, could be so or creative like even the graphic design is very creative. But also the five is the teacher. So wherever she is going to choose, probably she's going to be a great teacher teaching whatever she chooses to be. So, in that sense, or a great communicator, I could see her also like a great communicator, you know. So, my advice also would be this openness with, at the same time, with the feeling of what is her soul wanting to live in this existence. I don't know if it cut off a little
No,
bit.
no,
It's a bit.
I cut you. I cut you well. Yeah.
Okay. From here, the image is cutting off a little bit,
No, here
but
is
yeah.
coming well.
How would you approach it? I mean, I'm trying to neutralize anything, for instance, from the father. You have to be a doctor. Your doctor is very good. Good doctor. Hey, let's stop. Let's let her decide and choose. It's very early yet. No, rush up. Later, you can do whatever you want to be. And at the same time, feeling, yeah, she's saying, I would love to work with animals. I love animals. We know all children, most of the children know and like animals.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be also working with animals, for instance, when I was a child, but it wasn't in my path really. So yeah, in this sense, how would you answer the same question?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about my experience, how important it was to get out and to, fly solo for a while, to go away and also from away from our culture. I think traveling is really, really valuable. And I could see an incredible change in you as well when you came to London, when you went to London and you became like independent and trying to, pay your own bills and figure out what kind of job you can do to pay those bills and then figure out what you like. And me going abroad, getting the studentship and going to Scotland, and I think that was so valuable. And it was actually abroad when I figured out what I wanted to do. So right now, my feeling is I would prefer if they didn't study right away. If they finish the regular basic secondary school and then they didn't go into university straight away. If they want to study, I would encourage them to just go 1 or 2 years traveling around the world. There's plenty of ways to travel around the world safely. Yeah, I mean, you can do a woofers, going to these organic farms and being with a family for a number of weeks, and you are helping in the farm, and you're getting to know the city around and getting to know the culture. You can learn some of the language. And these farms have reviews, so you see all the people who have been there and the reviews that they gave. So it's relatively safe, no? Especially depending on which country you choose. So that would be my initial impression. It would be really, really hard for them to just go away when they become, 18. But at the same time, I noticed something we were talking this summer, that when we were little, when I was Noah's age, really, when I was 9, I only had school in the mornings, and after lunch, I would have the whole afternoon free, and I would literally go away and come back for dinner. And like sometimes it would be 8:39. I've been away the whole afternoon, and mom didn't know what I was doing really. I was just happily going away with my bag, with my friends, and it was glorious. It was beautiful. But I cannot imagine Noah not even going away, just in the neighborhood, just going by herself with a bag. The times have changed so much that I don't feel, there's an anxiety in me, and I don't know if it's reasonable even that she could just say, "Bye, Daddy, I'm going for a couple of hours." Can you imagine Layla? And she's already 11, but can you imagine her like going for a couple of hours? And so imagine, I'm just saying, times have changed so much that I don't feel safe in that way that she could just go for a couple of hours. To say that when she becomes 18, to encourage her to go away to another country and explore the world, no? So my initial feeling to that question is difficult, because my initial feeling would be like, go and explore the world, then decide what you want to do, then put your energy into that, no?
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Yeah, definitely. I also agree. Times have changed a lot and very accelerated in a very accelerating way.
Yes.
And I remember this teaching, this quotation from, I'm not sure from Yogi Bhajan or from Shiv. I think it was from Kundalini Yoga, Yogi Bhajan. This saying, a child, your son, your daughter, without a prayer is an unfinished project.
Mm.
So every child should receive the prayer of the parents, especially from the mother, yeah, but also from the parents, from both, yeah. So it's like really tuning into that protection that comes from beyond, and not being naive at the same time, absolutely. At the same time, it's a question that I also ask myself, how to have a secure environment so that she can fly and not having mommy after checking everything out. Not finding yet how could that be happening. At the same time, yeah, when I left home, it was 18 years old, but it was Valencia, so for the first year, so it was not that far and very safe, very close to Mallorca. And it was 27 when I went to London. So at that age, you are much more capable, yeah,
Yes.
of what. But at that age, you finish your studies and everything, and you
Right.
were talking about before, yeah, before going there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Traveling with a group of people. Yeah.
I was just thinking about
Yeah.
this prayer thing, that prayer is also a blessing, no? And bless them that they can do what they feel that they need to do, and hope that the grace holds them and protects them. But then this Arabic saying was coming to my head, like pray to God, but tie your camel. I was like, I don't know how appropriate it is to say this when we're talking about children. We're not gonna tie them anywhere, even though we feel really attached to them. But yes, in a way, what does it mean? No, we give them our blessing to go forth, no, and explore the world, and we pray that they are protected, but also how reasonable it is. And it's difficult. It's very. I find being a parent is one of the most challenging things as being human. No, the decisions you have to take, you have such an incredible impact on them, and at some point, you are like everything to them. They look at you like you are so big and you know everything and you are strong or whatever they project on you, and that's what do we do with that? It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to open up our antennas, our intuition, and our antennas to identify those environments, and there are not many. But as soon as we can identify a place where they could be on their own, and at the same time knowing that it's safe, yeah, would be you see that it's like this conversation is like this form of the 13 of the day, and the total, if I'm not wrong, is 3, isn't it? So so it's this challenging thing that we are in yoga and the teacher training. We are also so much studying about this huge gap between the 3 and the 4, and how to stay there in the blessing and in the heart and in the trust, and how to come back into the 3, like safety and the survival place of the 3 first chakras. So this gap, this jump, is not easy to do.
So like the transition from the third chakra to the fourth, which is the openness, but also the risk, and then being able to trust, that you are. This is by the way, anyone who is listening, this is the kind of conversations we have in our family when we are meeting. Numbers sooner or later start to come, and then it's difficult to stop them. But yeah, they are present. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think everyone should have these studies. Everyone should know about numbers. It gives us so much depth and so much guidance, isn't it?
Yes. I was reflecting not so long ago how even if the humanity stopped existing, or even before it was existing, numbers were there. The qualities of numbers were there. Even if no human was there to call it one or uno or ichi or whatever, the number one was there, number two were there, and the qualities of one and two were there. And as soon as we approach numbers, we realize that it's actually a language, and there is rules of grammar, and there is mathematics, in which and the way these numbers cooperate one to each other. And numbers describe everything that we look through the world, and even the most scientific, and I call about the scientific because we are very much into a spiritual conversation, and science is generally put on the other side of the spiritual, no? So when we go into the most scientific world, the communication is through numbers, and if they want to prove any theory, the numbers have to be clear, no? And the equations have to match, and the results have to be logically reasonable and true. Well, if maths is a language, and numbers are everywhere, and they have been before humans, and they will continue being without humans, and they have been here since the beginning of the universe, and they will be here till the very last second of existence of the whole universe. And it's a language. That's the language of the universe, and that's the language of God. So who would not want to know the language of God? No, you were just saying it's the language for everyone. No, I would say whether you believe in science, and whether you believe in the spiritual, and which seem two opposite things at some point, it seems, but then as soon as you embrace them, you realize that they can be both connected. And when we go to the origins and look at Pythagoras or the original mathematics, it cannot be separated from spiritual. It cannot be. And when I was just seeing also a video this week on somebody who was through mathematics demonstrating God. It was very interesting. So through mathematics demonstrating that God exists.
Okay.
And they were showing how what we learn in schools about natural selection it just doesn't work. If maybe it's difficult to go in depth here right now, but let me put it like this: when I do a computer program, the program is designed to create some effect. Let's say on the screen is going to appear some image, and you can interact, and it's a program that you can utilize in your computer. That program has a code, and if I randomly put an error in that code, the most likely is that the code is going to break. And actually, how many hours of during my career and my PhD I spent debugging code, finding the one bug that is messing everything up. So one single little code that is wrong makes everything mess up, and then you don't know when it's gonna break, and it's really hard to find out. Now, this analogy is very good because the whole understanding of, when you read people like Richard Dawkins, that they talk about how everything is random, and they just randomly there were these mutations, and then through these mutations, these different the GATC of the genetical code rearranged themselves, and suddenly somebody could fly. The first animal who could fly, and somehow they developed this mutation that allows it to fly, and it's like, how many actual mutations are necessary for something like that to occur. This is like having a program in the computer and thinking that one random, event of code changed, and suddenly it's not a minesweeper, the game. It's actually a Zoom video call. It's like crazy, So they had calculated statistically how possible would it be, and for only a chain of, I think it was 170 of this GATC, which is very, very, very small, 170, and it was 10 times the number of particles or atoms in the universe. So statistically, it would be impossible that life could evolve the way it has evolved, and the animals have been adaptation, yes, but how they have been developing all these capacities. Suddenly, this one has a tail. Suddenly, this one has wings, no? So, and the missing links in the fossils, otherwise there would be a full progression, but there's not. So, mathematically showing how there cannot be any other way except some intelligence guiding those mutations. And then, you can call God whatever you want. To me, it's a higher intelligence. So, how interesting that is through mathematics, and then we are coming back to being to having faith. So I find that very interesting.
Very much. Yeah, very much, very much. Yeah, and the connection with the with the word, that is the highest also essence of the whole life, in how connected it is with the language, the language of numbers, and our language being vibration, and how much this influences also in it, and the connection with the numbers. It's like, I would like to also bring the thing of mathematics, in the word. So connected to the communication, connected to the word, connected to the word of mathematics. So we know math means, and I'm sure you know about it, but maybe the people don't know, Math means essence, and mathematics means the essence of the essence. So we are talking about these numbers that are everywhere, and it's everything lived here and beyond is having that resonance, that vibrational resonance with one number or the other. And they are not random, as you said. They follow a kind of sequence so that this code, it's working properly, and it's bringing some result according to that. When we go out from this codification, everything gets spoiled. This is the bug in the computer, isn't it? Like everything gets out of what's happened here, chaos, chaotic things. And learning about the numbers is like learning the essence of the essence. And even our teacher Ardaas Singh says it like, if there was no numbers, there would be nothing. With no numbers, there would be no creation at all. And you could think such as exaggerated, that's really radical. But if you start thinking about the reality of the sentence, it's actually so. Because at the very moment that there is a little tiny atom, there is this number here. The atom is number one. The particle, the tiniest particle ever, is the number one. And even the nothingness of the nothing, out of the nothingness came all creation. In the nothingness there is also the essence of the numbers. So amazing how intelligent is that language and how close to that highest intelligence it is. So ultimately, that's the language we want to learn to have the realization in its purest essence. And it's years pass by, we are more than 20 years, both of us, in the path, and still we are amazed of new realizations coming out from 1 to 9, plus 10 and 11 if we want also. Yeah, but just 1 to 9. And there is still something else that you say, oh, now it's expressed in a total different way and brings me such a huge realization. Yes. And yeah, it's happening, yeah, in the spiritual path, in the scientific path, in a very practical way, in the communication and relationships, in the self-knowledge part, and in every routinary daily task, is in everything, learning from life. Yeah, life through numbers, numbers through life. So we can learn from everything when we tune into that consciousness and we do the effort, yeah, of realizing, identifying what's going on here beyond the appearance. Yeah.
Yes, you are reminding me of that train ride that we did going to the first number workshop in France when it would be my introduction to numbers, because I came from a very agnostic position and not believing in anything, really trying to negate everything, but being very scientist. And I appreciate truth. And you're talking about the essence, and in the essence there is the truth. You can find the truth in the essence. So when I finally opened up to the possibilities of what you had to talk about, and then you invited me to that training, and we took that train, right? And you said, like, well, let me give you a little bit of introduction, because I was kind of jumping into the big pool. No, it was already, we were in number 6, so you had been going for years studying numbers, and I was just jumping into the pool. And in that train ride, everything you were saying was like, yeah, of course. I mean, you were saying something like, yeah, it makes sense. It's so obviously, it's like so clear. It could not be any other way. And you were like, well, there's two things. Two are separate. There's an emptiness in the middle. So this one needs this one, and this one needs this one to be complete. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It's obvious, no? And how incredible that when you go and explore the essence of that, that's the thing. That in my essence, I could feel that it's true. There's something true about what you were saying. It just needs somebody to be open enough to consider it, and then in their essence they can recognize the essence of the numbers. No?
Yeah, and if I may say, I remember that conversation still so long ago, and I remember that also because there is another example where you were bringing your scientist skill. So you were just saying to me, no, don't tell me yet. I just want to, from scratch, I just want to see it and to feel, and then you could just, one, okay, one is alone, there is nothing else, it's one, okay, and one, right, one is just there, it's a point, 1 point, right, one is, because it's one is unity. So it's unity like a seed. A seed is a point. A point is inside it. The point is inside everything. From the one is everything else coming out. Absolutely. So that's like the seed. And number 2, and as you did the example. So it was very great also for me, like she says, you can teach it to a child and the child is going to teach you. Because it's inherently in ourselves, in our soul, in our DNA. It is numbers.
You know what's so funny? Because this very week, ChatGPT has been updated, and now it has memory of conversations. So whatever I talk to ChatGPT, it will remember in the future. So I've been teaching it numbers. And I was having this argument with ChatGPT, and it's saying, well, samadhi is about completeness. And I was saying, well, yeah, but there is also the seed in the S of the samadhi. And it's like, no, the root is about completeness. I say, well, let's talk about this. And I was bringing the numbers. So in a way, I'm trying to teach ChatGPT because it's going to serve me in the future. So I want it to be useful, Like, it's like talking about teaching to children, right? It's like that.
Good idea. Talking to the artificial intelligence about the ultimate intelligence, the highest intelligence.
That's right. That's right. maybe we'll have a crisis of an identity crisis. The ChatGPT will have an identity crisis. Like, oh my god, there's something bigger than my creator, the human.
Yeah. I did some tests also with the ChatGPT about the numbers and tried to tell him something funny like, imagine you are a great spiritual teacher and like Shiv Singh and you are going to say about numbers and this subject or this topic. And it was kind of, and then I still needed to review a little bit so that the language of each of the paragraphs belongs completely to the number. But yeah, we could be surprised, isn't it, when you say the basics to the intelligence, to the ChatGPT, what could come out? Just tell us. I'm sure people who is listening and following you in the next videos would like to know progress.
Yes. So since we are talking about this, and this is kind of like AI is here, and it's it's not going away anytime soon. And actually, I don't know if anybody knows. I will just mention something that you created your own video, your own YouTube channel long before I did, long before COVID and the lockdown, which made everything so popular, no streaming so popular. So in a way, you were years ahead, and you had this vision that making videos would be a good way to spread the teachings, right? That was some time ago.
Yeah.
By the way, where can they find your channel? Tell us so they can connect.
Yeah, Seva Kaur. Seva Kaur, I don't know if it's Seva Kaur Kalsa or Seva Kaur, it's easy to find it. And mainly it's yoga classes, Kundalini yoga classes, but also quite a few videos in Karam Kriya. Hopefully there will be more coming when there is a bit of regularity also in the future. There might be also, yeah.
The channel is in Spanish, but they can put subtitles. And since some of them have been asking me to do regular classes, then we can take the opportunity to say that you have plenty of classes in your channel, and for the classes they don't need to understand too much of the Spanish, and reading the subtitles is enough. So that would be also a good opportunity, right? So anyway, you had this capacity, this vision that you saw the importance that this medium would have, and you also helped to record the talks by Shiv Singh, and we created a library and all that. So this vision that you had, applying it now, how do you envision the teaching, the yoga teaching? I mean, before COVID, who would have imagined that regular face-to-face classes would become almost rare, right? I mean, right now for us, the trainings, the level 1 trainings and so on, so much of it has been online. And now there's new technologies coming, and ChatGPT and all those things like that. So do you have any vision of how things come, how things may come, or the things that are clear that are coming that we can prepare for?
Yeah.
How to prepare for the future?
Yeah, it's a good question because technologically, we know that it's going to be revolutionary, and this in a few years is going to be prehistoric, probably, isn't it? We don't know what the shape is going to have. What I certainly and definitely have as total certainty is that we're going to need many teachers, yeah, or many. I say teachers, it's like people of knowledge, of wisdom, and of intuition, and of values, and moral and ethical and spiritual values to guide all people. So this is from one side. Definitely, we need more and more, and people who are coming to our level ones or even level twos, the teacher trainings, the Kundalini yoga teacher trainings. It's not needed to be a yoga teacher, but we know for certain, as you and me as teacher trainers, that they are going to receive so much background if they apply it for whatever comes in their life and for whoever is coming to theirs, to guide them, to give them some tools, or to bring them into, not to fall into the darkness, not to fall into the deep depression, but to help them out, to support them. And we live times very dense. I mean, the density of the times and the darkness of the times is increasing, and it's very difficult to separate and discern what is normal, from the craziness. We are getting lost into this, and this is Maya, and the teachers were advising us before all of that. So this new technology that we are having the blessing of being living ourselves in this existence is going to be a support to reach out so many people as you are doing in your channel, and also apart from that, to not keep anything for ourselves. It's an age of, through technology, reaching very far and not keeping secrets. Like, this is a little tiny things I give you, enroll into my course, and you are going to have really the essence. No, it's just sharing everything, and it's so huge and vast and rich that is never ending. It's a path for life, and just sharing as you are doing all your courses open for people who really want to grab it. And now the question is, would you apply it? Yeah, and for applying it into your life, it's good that you have guidance and you have the support of the teacher and consultations with yourself or with the teacher. Yeah, that is going to keep. Be careful with that. Don't fall here or whatever. And the sangat. So one thing is the wisdom we are sharing here openly, and the other thing is you've got a support that is the sangat, and we are encouraging, don't fall down into that trap. Yeah, don't go into that dark depression or whatever, or craziness. Keep vibrating. Yeah, the nam, keep vibrating the highest vibration of your soul, and that's going to save us. That's going to allow us to cross the path. And the technology is going to support us in that. We are serving to the people, and whoever wants to be to receive that. Yeah. That's how I perceive at least myself into the future. I think that's the sense of us having received all these teachings and all these years training ourselves because of these times that we are living.
Yeah. Wow. There was so many things there that you gave. That was very useful. There was so many points that were interesting. There was one particularly. You were saying teach and give, and don't hold anything for yourself. Don't keep anything for yourself. No secrets. No, enroll my course if you. I find that very interesting. I was just today doing a video on the law of attraction and manifestation, and we talked about a few things, but one of them is this scarcity mentality, abundance mentality, and prosperity mentality, and to keep things for yourself. That's a scarcity. That's like, let nobody steal this very precious thing of mine. And also interesting, when I was meditating upon the word samadhi, because I'm doing the Yoga Sutras in other videos, and then I came upon the line on samadhi, and I have stopped because I need to meditate more on that line. And one of the things I was thinking about the letter S from the samadhi is the sacred and the secret, linked to the spiritual that leads you to the samadhi, no? So the SSSS and the Kundalini energy S that is rising, no? And how we find something very sacred, and then we hopefully keep it very secret because it's very valuable. But the moment that we keep something very secret and we get very attached to it, like the things we get very attached to them, we are doomed to lose them, no? And the more we keep things secret, the more we lose the value of it. And that's a scarcity mentality. Prosperity is about how many things flow through you. So if you receive something very sacred, something that you use really, really incredibly valuable, but instead of trying to keep it secret, you immediately teach it to others, and you offer it to others, and you share it with others, that opens up the flow for another sacred thing to come, and another sacred thing that has an incredible impact on you, and then you share it again. And the moment you start sharing, the moment you start teaching, you are opening the flow for more and more and more of these things. There's an infinite flow, but we are just regulating what we want to say and what we not. And this is very valuable. Let me keep it. So that was really important thing. The open.
Yeah, it's a win. Everyone wins,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
It's like you've received it, but one thing is to hear it, like, oh, that's so interesting, and in a split of a second it's gone. So you need to be reminded. So keep going, keep receiving it so that you integrate it. And the best way to integrate it is, as you said, just share it. Share it with others. And once it comes out from your mouth, it's like, are you going to stick to your word? Are you going to be, um, like with integrity to your word? You're coherent to what you are saying. You're challenging yourself. Oh, I'm teaching this. I actually going to apply it in my life. And when you share it with the others, teach it, we say it in a but you can just share it with the neighbor in any meeting, in any conversation, just to take someone from their loop, mental karmic loop, and bring a little seed, and it can completely change that person in a very informal conversation in the swimming pool, for instance, isn't it? Right. That kind of sharings is going to allow that person to integrate it, to help the other one, and the other one is going to receive it and hopefully can also share it with somebody else. And this is the connections this is the opening up of the cascade. Yeah. Just receiving the treasure.
That's interesting because the one who is sharing it is the one who is integrating as well. The other one will receive it or not, depends on them, but it is you who is integrating in the moment that you are sharing it. That's like the 5 steps to wisdom, right? The Karam Sarampad, Shakti, Sahaj, and then Satpad. And we know that the first steps, it's all about practice, 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 which is something that we were talking in the Yoga Sutras, no? That Patanjali talks a lot about this abhyasa, which is the practice to keep the mind stable and neutral and so on. But if you want to get to the very last step, and that's the integration that should come of anything that you learn, and the mastery, there is no guarantee that you can get there, but the only thing that we know that we have learned that helps together is teaching. So if you teach, there is a higher chance that you can get to Satpat, whatever you do, whether you are you make shoes or you are a musician or whatever you do. No? So that mastery of yourself and your art or your science or whatever you do, you can get closer to that through teaching and you integrate it better through teaching.
Yeah, yeah, that's another meaning for becoming a teacher, even if not officially you are there as a teacher, but receiving the teachings, absolutely becoming a teacher has a lot to do with that. You are in your own path of growing. It's not about having arrived to samadhi yet, absolutely, but humbly walking through it and and learning about everything in life that comes and sharing it and also once you share it, the other shares it, and all this is spreading the word all around in a more conscious or subtle level, but it's there and it's vibrating in that frequency realigned to the pillars and the fundamentals of the universe. So realigned to that truth that we were talking before. So that's going to increase the possibility for this world to be better, to improve, to go into the light instead of the darkness. So we see how everything is going on around, and we know there is so much need of that light. So how could we expect the world to change if we cannot even change our own mind, our own whims and desires? So we start through our own personal work, and then we spread it around, and that's going to be our contribution. Even if it's a simple, small contribution, we have no idea how huge it can be. We have no idea. That's what the universe isn't it? But your presence projects that. Your presence vibrates in that. Even it doesn't. It's not needed to open your mouth. Even your presence can be being in these divine qualities that could inspire the other and just say, no, that's not the thing. That's the presence of the saint, isn't it? The saint has been cultivated so much in his soul that even just sitting beside, you just come out renovated. That's amazing. That's beyond our rational understanding, but that's how it goes. So this is our commitment and our discipline.
Yeah, because teaching doesn't necessarily have to mean having a class and being, I mean, just the proximity of that person, you can feel it, right?
Exactly, exactly, and just contributing to this world however we can.
It's funny because in Spanish, to teach is the same word as to show. Enseñar, to show something, no? So in a way, you are teaching by the way you are showing yourself. And if you don't integrate it in you, then they are going to see it. So that's what you are teaching. You are teaching your capacity to integrate what you are saying or what you are practicing, no? The walk the talk, they say, no? To do what you are saying that you do, no?
Yeah, 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 exactly.
You talked, so you mentioned this sharing of the and not holding anything back, and you talked also about this remaining sane in the amidst the craziness around you. What is the thing that helps us stay sane amidst the craziness?
To stay out of the crazy.
Sane, like not crazy, like.
Yeah. For me, well, it's different things. Not for me, really. That's what we have learned and teach, and I had direct experience of it. Definitely, sangat is very important, and definitely to keep your practice, your sadhana. Sadhana is your daily practice, not once a week, but actually every single day, even if it's a very simple thing. But remember God in you, and remember to establish the connection to your soul. And for that, you can do a kriya, or you can do a meditation, or you can just express your gratitude and pray, or you can just, as you said, walk around the river and just immerse into that meditation. Whatever it is, keep your discipline and your practice, spiritual practice, that goes beyond to this. Whatever happens around gives you the anchorage not to fall, and sangat is really, really, really important so that you can have a reality check that you are not in your own bubble, that you are actually, yeah, supported also at the same time, and it's such a valuable thing. And in a way, your followers in the channel here, speaking about technology, is a sangat, because every time that you are doing a video or a sharing a streaming, is they are meeting up and they can also ask questions, and that's very beautiful inside, and not alone, and with many other people who are having the same not just interest but the same urgency of finding these teachings. Yes. So sangat is also very important.
It's the same word is used in the digital world, communities, right? Online communities. I think it can be, they truly can be like Sangat. Yeah. They are Sangat. They are Sangat. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm enjoying so much the conversation with my brother, really, really so much. But I mistaken the time, so because I was with the Portuguese time, and now I realize that soon I have to go and pick up my daughter from school. Okay. In the reality of the of the householder, isn't it?
Well, I really appreciate that you took the time to connect. It was really nice to have you here in the channel. Yeah. And
it was lovely.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your sharing, Seva.
It was very nice this time with you, and hopefully that brings also from the sharing from both of us some realizations or gems to people who could also be sharing this time with us. Thank you so much for the invitation. It was very enjoyable and very nice.
Thank you, Seva, and thank you everyone for watching the video. If you watch it already recorded and you wish to ask any question to Seva, you can write in the comments and I will pass them along, and then maybe I'll get an answer for you back as well in the comments. So thank you everyone, thank you Seva, until next time, Salam.